Welcome to Spectrum Perspectives, real talk with parents, professionals, and autism advocates, with your host, Cindy Gellermini.
Hi, everyone. This is Cindy with another episode of Spectrum Perspectives. And today I'm going to be talking to a mom. Her name is Marcela, and she has 3 boys. 2 of them are on the spectrum, and we're going to talk about what she's been going through. She's been having a really rough time lately, and we want to try to get her some help. So Marcela, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Cindy. It's a pleasure to be being part of this beautiful project, and I cannot wait to start.
Good. I'm so glad that you're here. So as I mentioned, you have 3 boys. So the oldest does not have autism, correct?
It's a girl. Sorry.
Oh, the girl. Oh, okay.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm assuming it's 3 boys. I don't know what. Okay. So you have a girl. Okay. And then, so that's interesting because I had girls first and then I had Robbie 5 years later, and I didn't pick up on the autism because I just thought because he's a boy, he was very different. He was stubborn, whatever. So I'm curious to hear your story. Okay. So you have a girl, and then how many years later did you have your second child?
So my second child, my first child was 7 months when I got pregnant.
Oh, okay. That's very close together. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then, so your second child is Lucas?
Yes, Lucas.
Okay. So tell me about the pregnancy. Were there any red flags? Did the doctor say there could possibly be anything wrong with this baby or no?
The pregnancy was actually very healthy, and Lucas was like my biggest, heaviest baby at birth. I had no complications at all during the pregnancy, no complications during the labor and delivery as well. He was born full term, and I did have an induction because we were in Florida at the time and under Hurricane Katrina at the time.
Oh, okay.
So no, it was Irma. I don't remember, but anyway, so he was born during a hurricane.
Right. So, okay.
But no problems whatsoever.
And then what about his development? Did he crawl on time, walk on time?
He did. He did all of his, milestones on time. And by the age of, I think he was 11 months old, it was before he turned 1, that my family, not me, my family, we were visiting family, they noticed some, behaviors that for me, like you said, like when you have a girl first, and I would take him to the doctors and they would say, no, boys are oranges and girls are apples. So it was kind of a lot of miscommunication every time I tried to understand his behaviors, but my family noticed first.
What did they say to you?
So they mentioned that it's like, don't you think it's like weird when we call Lucas and he doesn't look back, he doesn't look at us. And I have never, never noticed that. So after they pointed out, I started to pay more attention to that fact. And I was like, yeah, it's true. Sometimes, I can see that he's not, looking back. But I always thought that was his personality because he used to play with us. He would play with his sister, hide and seek, and he would participate and laugh, watch videos and dance. So after he turned 1 year old, his behavior has completely changed, completely, night and day.
Wow.
Yeah, so that is when I started to look, for doctors, and autism wasn't even a possibility in my mind.
Right.
Never had a case in my family or his father's family. So it was the last thing that I thought that could happen.
What year was he born?
He was born 2005.
2005. Okay.
2005.
So, okay. What is he, 16 now?
Yes.
Okay. So
he's going to be 17.
When my son was born, nobody had autism. It was just not something that you would even think of. Nobody even knew what it was. Now people know the word, but
exactly.
Yeah. So how did you come to a diagnosis of autism? How old was he? Who found it?
So when we came back from vacation, I started to set up appointments with pediatrician, and literally, I think at the time I saw like 5 or 6 doctors who would just say, "Oh no, every child is different. Oh, you cannot compare." And it was like that, but I always I was like, no, I want to make sure that everything's okay. So I was lucky at the time I was living in Ohio, in Cincinnati, and they have a very good center for autism there, the Kelly O'Leary Center. And one of the pediatricians said, you know what, let's just in case, do a hearing test, and let's do some like development, special to see his development. And we're like, okay. So it was one doctor after the other doctor, and we ended up referred to here and there. And I remember that, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't want to see this specialist at Cincinnati Hospital." I said, "Okay." And I thought, because it was so overwhelming, in fact, I thought I was a neurologist, but ended up being someone who told me that he has autism. And it was, I remember
Who was this that said it? Was the neurologist that said this?
I think it was a neurologist or some specialist that I do not remember right now.
Yeah.
But it was like the best, autism doctor in the state.
Okay.
So she told me, it's like, so we did all the tests and, playing, of course. And I remember my son, Owen, the youngest, was about 3 months old, and I was breastfeeding him. And I remember the specialist saying, "Oh, the baby, don't worry, he doesn't have autism." And I'm like, it's like, I had no idea I can have 2 kids with autism. He just said, I just got 1 kid diagnosed. So
now they're bringing up the third. Okay. So now you had Owen at this time too. So your kids are all close together. So,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, right. So you're just getting a diagnosis of 1 kid and now they're mentioning your third one. Oh yeah, don't worry, he doesn't have autism, which wasn't even, right? It wasn't on your radar to have 1 kid, let alone 2. Wow.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I just was told, don't hug him, don't kiss him. He doesn't like to be touched, so it's better just leave him be. And
They told you that?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And I remember looking at the doctor and saying, I was holding and hugging him like 5 seconds ago. I am never going to stop hugging and kissing him. If he bothers him sensory speaking,
right,
he needs to get used to it.
Yeah.
That was my answer.
Right.
And I always did. I hug and I kiss and I, play. And he's a big, gigantic teddy bear. And he's so lovely. He loves cuddling, and it's something that back in the day, I worked as a photographer, and I did a project called Able to Love. Because how many parents were being told, don't hug your kid, don't kiss them. And to a lot of families, sometimes there's information coming from a doctor. They will stop kissing the kid. They will stop hugging. And that makes such a huge difference, and how they overcome.
That is the worst advice I've ever heard anyone give. It's funny because when they told me that Robbie had autism, they didn't say not to hug and kiss, but they said that they may not be affectionate. They don't like to be hugged or kissed. And I said, well, that's not my son. My son's not autistic then, because he loves being hugged and kissed. So I wasn't being told not to, but they were telling me that that's a sign of autism. And I said, well, then he's not autistic then, because he likes it, I don't know.
They make it sound like suggestion. It's better if I'm like, you can cut my 2 arms and my 2 legs and I will find a way to hug them. It's not happening.
Yeah. Okay. So now so Lucas is diagnosed. What did you do next? So he was, how old was he? Like 1.5 years, 2 years old?
He was 2 years old.
So it took you a while because you were going to a lot of different doctors.
Yes.
So what did you do then? Where did you put him in school, in therapy? What?
So they pretty much, I was asking because at the time, I did not know anything about autism, nothing. So I made the question, so how is gonna, his future is gonna be? He's gonna be independent. Like I had no idea.
Did they tell you that he would never speak?
They told me that he'll never talk, that he'll never say I love you, that he will never, be independent. Just no, no, no. It was just so negative.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very weird feeling leaving that doctor's office, driving home. Of course, then you're like, and they were like, no, don't go online. Don't go. I said, well, I need to get information from somewhere.
Don't go online.
Because I need to do the best for my son.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever is going to be best for him, I'm doing it. So it was a process. My family is in another country, so it was just me here and the kids. Mm-hmm. And so it was very difficult to go through all of that by myself. It has always been. They are emotionally, involved and everything, but I don't have the physical support. Mm-hmm. So it was very difficult in the beginning, especially when he started to have the self-injury behaviors. Mm-hmm. And that was really hard to see him hurting himself, such a young age.
When did that start? How old?
He started when he was like 3.5 years old. He would just throw himself on the ground, his head against the wall.
Yeah.
And at that time, he was not sleeping at all at night. Mm-hmm. So everybody, keep him and his sisters up at night, awake. And I remember not sleeping at all. So yeah, been there.
Where? So, yes. What about his father? Where is he?
His father used to work a lot, so it was pretty much just me and the kids. So I was the one driving because I got him in pre-K for kids with autism in Cincinnati. They were amazing, stepping stones.
Wait, back up. Say that again. I didn't catch what you said.
They went to a pre-K.
A pre-K. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. In Cincinnati called Stepping Stones, and they were fantastic.
Yeah.
They're very good. So they were doing the pre-K half days, and then OT.
And this is for kids with special needs, kids with autism?
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. So they were doing that, and after that, they would do like OT, speech, all the ABA therapies.
Wait, that was done at the school, or you had to get separate therapists?
That was separate because the program they were going at the time was just like a pre-kindergarten. So they did not have, it was a private.
Right. So to get all the therapies, did you do that at your house or they came to the school? Where was it done?
No, the therapies, I had to take them to the hospital.
Oh, you had to go to their office. Yes. Got it. And was this covered by your insurance?
It was covered by their insurance, yes.
Okay. All right. I ask these questions just to help other parents. Course. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, so that's pre-K. Now what happened when like kindergarten age? Where did he go then?
So, I made a decision back in the time to send them to a Autism Center. Mm-hmm. Because I did not think that the school district would be able to, provide them with what they need.
Right.
So I was very lucky to be able to, I applied for a scholarship for the ABA Center in Ohio, and they qualified for the program.
Okay, now hold on, because you're saying they, so are we talking about both boys now?
Both boys, point? Yes.
Okay, so hold on. So how many years apart are they? They're like a year apart or?
A year and a half, not even a year and a half.
A year and a half. So, okay, so Lucas was diagnosed at what, like around 2 years old, right?
2.5, yes.
2.5. So that means the other baby was a year and a half.
Oh, yes. When he was around 9 months old, I already,
you already saw, you started to see the signs?
Exactly. And then I got him diagnosis right away.
Oh, you got him right away. Okay. So now you're dealing with, it's almost like having twins. They're so close, right? It's like, yeah. So now you've got the two of them. Okay. All right. So Lucas starts pre-K. And what about your younger son? What was he doing? Did you have to wait until he was pre-K?
No, they they got into the program together. Even though Owen was younger, it
Oh,
was a classroom that was like from a year old all the way to 5.
oh, wow. Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, good. All right. So you were able to take both of them. So, okay. So
Yes.
they both were almost diagnosed around the same time and started school around the same time, even though they're a year
Yes.
apart, pretty much. Okay. All right. So pre-K is over. Now they're going to a school for an autism center.
Yes.
Okay. So you had to, and this is in Ohio.
Yes, in Ohio, Cincinnati.
Okay. And so you had to get a scholarship. So that means this is something that has to be paid for by someone.
Yes.
Okay,
Was
so
the
they
county.
didn't have a school, because where I am, Robbie he attended a public school that was for all autistic kids. The day he turned 3, he started going to this school. I paid for nothing. The Board of Ed had to pay for his education. So every state is different though. That's why I'm curious to see what happens in other states, because other
Yes.
people don't have what we have.
Ohio, we had a very good, like the county that I was living in, they had a lot of good resources. I think that made a huge difference.
Right.
It was not only because of the state, it was the county itself. So
Oh, it's county? Okay.
Yes. So the ARC was amazing. They used to like, they used to get all their therapy material through ARC. So when we tried to do PACS, the communication devices, we went through ARC. So the Claremont County was amazing. We had a lot of great services there that I never had the same experience after we left.
Interesting. Okay, so they were going to school, and then so he's 16 now. So your other son is 15, 14? 14. I know what happens when they hit puberty.
Oh Lord.
Yes, that's when all the fun begins. But before that, okay, you already said you're not sleeping. Tell me some of the behaviors that you were seeing. Like, did they like to run away? Do you deal with eloping?
Oh, so the interesting part, I'm laughing now, but
yeah, right. Then, you can laugh now. It's not funny.
Exactly. So Owen was the one who'd run away. Would run away, would throw things. He was the one with the aggressive and destructive behavior.
Got it.
Lucas had the self-injury behavior that actually was much worse because he would always, get hurt. But Owen, yes, Owen, when he was about between 3 and 4.5,
yeah,
I had locks in all the windows and doors. And at a time, I was on a wheelchair because I had a herniated disc. So I was not walking for about a year.
Oh, no.
Yes. So one morning, and everybody was at home. Even my mom was visiting. So, you know what? 1 second, if I would not hear Owen making some type of noise, I would have to go check on him, because when he was thinking, he was very mechanical. So he would figure that out things in a second. So I just, someone knocks on the door. It's like, is that your son and your dog? I'm like, what? He was on his diapers, his toy, and we had a service dog back in the day. So the dog went out of him and, got someone's attention. But that was Cindy, that was so fast.
Yeah.
And of course, they had to call, the police department and children's services.
Yep.
But they came to the house and they saw the locks, all the alarms. I even got to the point that I have a safe to keep the keys off the lock. It was insane.
Right.
And he still could do it. He still would run away.
Yeah, they know when you're not paying attention. They know how to sneak out just at the right time.
So fast, but it's scary how fast it is.
Yeah. So the 2 boys, can they speak?
So they are considered nonverbal, and it takes a lot of prompting. They cannot carry on a conversation.
Right.
They can say, what they want, but not, for example, Lucas, when he's self-injuring. So I asked him, are you okay? He can't tell me why he's doing what he's doing.
Right.
So it's very difficult when they are in crisis mode for them to express whatever that is going on to cause him to, to hurt himself, or in Owen's case, to destroy everything, hit me, other people. So they talk when they want, but not to the point that we can, have a whole sentence or a back and forth of a normal sentence. That doesn't happen.
Neither one of them.
No. Owen, the youngest, will speak when he wants in more than 7 languages.
In several languages?
More than 7.
Wow. Yep. How many can you speak?
2.
Where is he learning 5 other languages from?
So I don't know if you remember Baby Einstein.
Yes.
The videos.
Yeah.
So he loves Baby Einstein to this day. And once he got older, and he's a genius in the computer, he was watching Baby Einstein in all different languages.
Wow.
And he just say something to him like, what? French and Italian and Hebrew, Chinese, Japanese, French. I'm like, wait a second. Let me get the translator here.
Right.
It's amazing.
Okay. So he can understand, he just can't necessarily say. Does he use any other type of communication? Does he type? Does he facilitate anything?
He's
like
very good at typing, but they do not use communication device at this point. I tried at school. Has been very difficult. Let's put this way.
Okay. Yeah, and I've asked you if you'd heard of RPM because I interviewed Soma. I've had at least five moms that their kids began to communicate using RPM. So what about Lucas?
So Lucas, right now.
Did he type or anything or no?
No, Lucas, he's not as good in the computer, but he loves it. So I think that the situation with the boys, I got divorced.
Okay.
And they spent some time living with, their father.
Okay.
So I think I was 1,000% doing everything for the boys, 1,000%. He was working, and my job was making sure the kids have whatever they need. So of course, when they separated, it was kind of difficult for him to do the same. And they ended up going to a public school. So the whole, treatment that they were having before was really different. And I do believe that was a huge step back. I believe if we were having the same treatment without, stopping and changing all of these things,
right,
it would be much better now. But, life happens.
Right. I would say probably 75% of the moms that I interview are also divorced.
Yes.
Because there's a very high divorce rate because of the stress of raising one child, even with autism, puts a big strain on the marriage. And like you said, you're putting 1,000% into caring for the boys. So do you think that was part of it?
Definitely was. Especially because for me, motherhood was really a priority. And even if they were, neurotypical, I would be like, doing everything that I can, so my kids can have a better future.
So how are you doing this now as a single mom? I mean, do you work?
So last couple of years have been, I cannot even put in words. So the boys were living with their father, because physically, I could not control them at all. Even when they were like about 10, they were like very big and strong.
Wait, how old were they when you got divorced?
They were like 10, and or something like that.
Okay,
We,
about that
we always
time
have,
when they
yeah,
were, okay, about that time when they were around 10 and you couldn't physically
yes.
control
So,
them.
but
Yeah.
we always had shared custody, and we tried for a long time to
Uh-huh.
try to make the whole thing happen.
Okay.
But it became impossible physically for me to control both of them.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine because it's hard enough to try to control one. I mean, people that don't have an autistic kid need to understand they have, it's like a superhuman strength that comes on them, you know. It's
Yes.
kind of like the adrenaline. I remember when I was a kid in school, they taught us about, you know, I guess it's the adrenaline or whatever, where a mom to save her baby can lift a car, you know, they suddenly become so strong. This strength would just come on my son like unbelievable, like this vice grip, and he'd just grab you and pull you to the ground and just like rip your hair, rip your shirt, like whatever. Like it was like, and you couldn't get him off, you know. So, yeah.
I agree with you, Cindy, because this is one aspect that I think that, you know, people who don't have children with severe autism or don't have children's, you know, neurotypical problems, I don't think they can understand or even believe when we say, oh, I know my son, 10 years old. They they don't. They don't believe. They're like, oh, you know, she's just being dramatic. She just don't want to stay with her son.
No.
No, it's just, we just can't physically control them.
Right. Right.
I used to describe my son's crisis as a intense tornado because it was fast,
Yes.
but it was so destructive.
Yeah.
In 5-10 minutes, vroom, gone. The whole house destroyed.
Yeah. Like, tell me, give me details of what that's like so people can understand.
So the last couple of years, the situation, because the situation now is the worst possible. So I'm gonna go back. So almost 2 years ago, Owen said, no more daddy, no more kid quarrel. I want mom. I said, okay, you're staying. And at the time I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment, but I said, I don't care, we're gonna make this work. So, but it was supposed to be a weekend visitation, you know, I said, you wanna stay with mommy, you're staying. He was doing well in the beginning because I think the fear of going back, you know, to be with his other parents, it was keeping him in check in terms of his behavior. So I was able to, because he was doing ABA, he was in speech therapy, OT, and that was during the summertime before, you know, the new school year. There was a summer program in a school for kids with autism. So he went to the summer program. I had to, you know, go there, pick him up a couple of times because he was having some, you know, tantrums or something. So I enrolled him in that school. Cindy, so I paid the tuition, the material for the whole year. First day he was there for half an hour. Second day he was there for 1 hour, and I had to pick him up. And they told me he cannot come back without a therapist with him 24/7. And I'm like, wait a second, how in middle of like, you know, post-COVID was just when school was open, close, open, close. Waiting list for a therapist or aides was just like super long. And I said, okay, so I cannot bring him. So, okay,
What
so
did
don't
they
bring
wait?
him.
What did they want from a therapist? What did they want you to do?
Be next to him during the school time. From
A therapist
7
to sit with him during school?
Yeah.
How are you going to get a therapist to do that?
Exactly. And I was like, first of all, you had him in summer, the summer program. So why did you accept him for the school year? You know, you saw his behavior, but now you're telling me that after everything that I paid you, that you're not going to reimburse me and that he cannot attend the school without someone with him. And yeah, it is what it is. So, okay. So I get Owen out of the private school, contact the school district, start the paperwork, and was only online at the time because of COVID. Trying to keep Owen in front of a computer, doing like school was impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It was impossible. So I tried my best. I contacted the teacher, said, listen, first of all, he doesn't understand anything that is what is going on. Oh no, we can send him. And I suggested, can you hold him back? Because he was on eighth grade, because he was super smart. I think they're just passing him because they didn't want to have to deal with his behavior, to be honest. Because he was very destructive. He was throwing tables and chairs and hitting everybody. So we tried.
In school, he
Yeah.
was throwing tables and chairs. So, okay, so that's, okay. That's what I want to know. Like, what behaviors were you seeing?
So he was throwing tables, throwing chairs, destroying the books, kicking the teachers, kicking the aides, like hurting other children.
So now, but this is Owen. So Owen, he can communicate with you, right? If so, did you ask him why he did that?
I would ask him why, and I'll always use a very calm tone of voice.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Because
ask
I
him
know.
later, you know, after he's calm for sure, but
So one of the episodes, when like a year, it was like a year that the behaviors were like, okay, getting worse, and literally in 2 months, I had the police go into my house twice a day.
wow, twice a week,
Twice a day.
twice a day.
A day. If I didn't call, the neighbors would call, someone would call. He was not kicked out of school, but it was strongly suggested for him to do online school. And I
Wait a
only
minute, wait a
found
minute. The
out
police were called to your house or to the school?
to my house.
Okay, that's it for part 1. Be sure to tune in for part 2. I hope you enjoyed listening and it helped you gain a new perspective. If you're interested in buying our book series, Robbie's World and His Spectrum of Adventures, the link will be in our episode description as well as my Instagram and Facebook pages. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like more content, please be sure to hit that like button, follow us, and don't forget to leave us a great review. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 of today's episode. Be sure to join us again next time to hear the second half of the interview on Spectrum Perspectives.